generation, two Prose Bros are born, chosen to watch every episode of Buffy and tell you what they think about them. This is the Prose Bros Visit Sunnydale. Hello and welcome to another edition of the Prose Bros Visit Sunnydale. I am Eddie Cruz.
And I am Geoff.
And this episode is the last episode of the first season. It is Prophecy Girl.
Prophecy Girl.
Woo! Fucking prophecy. Fwah, fwah, fwah. Sorry.
That was very millennial of you.
I know. I love that shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just going to wear Vans all day and tight jeans, like a leather jacket.
I was just about to say, we did it, the final episode. But we're having massive issues trying to record this.
Yeah, dude, this is not going well. But I will say that this episode is a great episode. I like this episode, I should say. When I first watched it, it was an event. Today, it was the last episode of a season that is clearly lesser than the rest of the series, in my opinion.
So, when you first watched it, was this something that, like, you really, really liked?
Yeah, absolutely. It was like Buffy fucking died. It was a big deal. There was a commercial break right after that. That suspense is built up. When you watch it on Netflix, it's not the same.
They're going to add some commercials?
Yeah, they got to add some, like, she's dead. Dun, dun, dun. They, like, pan to Sander, and then they go, like, straight into a KFC commercial. Like, buy this fucking KFC chicken breast, and in between's bacon and cheese, motherfucker.
At least Buffy didn't die, and they pan over to Chris Hardwick doing some dumbass joke.
He's like, today on After Midnight, or whatever it's called. Actually, that show's pretty funny.
Sometimes, depends on the guest.
Yeah. I don't know, that guy is a little bit too much for me.
I don't know, it really depends sometimes.
Yeah.
He can be funny.
He can also be a great interview.
Oh, dude, just listen to The Nerdist he did, put out a couple days ago with Rob Zombie.
Yeah.
Great, they're friends.
Much respect.
Great interview. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
But Prophecy Girl.
Yeah, Prophecy Girl.
So, when I first watched this, I was like, oh, dude, this is the best episode in the first season.
Yeah.
Which, honestly, it kind of is. Mm-hmm. But I didn't realize, actually, until watching it right now, there's a lot of fucking issues that I do want to get into.
Yeah, there's a lot of issues. I too had a episode boner for this one when I first saw it. Super hard, massive boner about it. I loved it, and upon rewatching, yeah, it had a lot of issues that might have been covered up by the fact that the TVs have gotten better. Covered up by the fact that the clarity in reception is there, maybe. The editing problems are outstanding.
See, and I was just thinking about the writing. Some of the writing feels to me like, okay, guys, we're maybe not going to have another second season. Let's just fucking go all in. So some of the mistakes, I think it's because they weren't planning on getting picked up, which we will get into. But who's starting with plot summary? Is that you?
Okay,
Is that
so
me?
There's an earthquake in Sunnydale, and it destroys most of the structural, actual integrity of the school right down the middle.
I'm already fucking up. I'm already interrupting you with this. I told you, go for it, Eddie. And then I just... but I wanted to talk about, like, the first scene, which I really liked in the episode, which was Xander and Willow's scene.
Oh, yeah.
Which I loved.
It's actually the culmination of him liking Buffy and wanting to ask Buffy out.
But you see it, and he's, like, pouring his heart out, and this and
Willow's
that.
just eating it up.
And you think that it's towards Willow, but of course it's not if you've seen the rest of the season.
Yeah.
It's all about Buffy. And poor Willow, man. Poor fucking Willow.
Poor Willow. Kind of. I mean, she is a lesbian, so...
Not yet.
I mean, it's not like she wasn't a lesbian then.
Well, we don't know she is.
Yeah.
We currently do not know.
Do you think that kind of takes out the integrity of being a lesbian? Like, I mean...
Fuck, dude. I don't even know how I can answer that.
It's kind of weird, like, being like, oh, well, she liked boys, and she dated boys, and she digged the cock, and then all of a sudden she was like, nah.
Your question kind of reminds me of that South Park episode where Timmy and Jimmy are going around to the crypts and asking, is it better to be a crypt from birth or a crypt later on in life? That's what that... I don't know.
I don't know, man. It's just kind of like, I heard that song. It's like, baby, I was I was born this way, you know? And, like, they were born that way, you know? Yeah.
So that's the start to a very emotional episode, which starts out kind of emotional, and then it shifts gears. But you're talking about, like, this big fucking earthquake that, you know...
Which was maybe a metaphor for the Soup Samosh, you know? Like, definitely...
This is shaking up your world.
Yeah,
like,
everything's being shaken right now.
Sounds cheesy when we say it like that.
Yeah, a little bit. I think it sounds cheesy because this series is a little cheesy. You have to accept that, right?
I don't have to accept shit.
No, except for fucking talking shark monsters.
I'll accept that. I'm fine with that one. So, after this earthquake, which the whole town...
I mean, literally, they would have to destroy and, like, pretty much obliterate the school and rebuild it after that kind of damage. The whole school split in half for a tentacle monster that looked like, you know, I don't know, I could have made it with some Nerf and slime.
There's no way you could have made it, but I understand.
I could totally do that.
I understand what you mean by
I can do anything
cheesy.
I want to, Jeffrey, if I put my mind to it and have a day off of work, or like a week.
Okay, yeah, anybody can do anything in the world if they try and
like
put
Trump's
the effort.
Gonna be president.
You will not make a tentacle monster like that.
Maybe I will.
Do it.
I'm right.
I bet you won't.
We'll be right back after this commercial announcement, and I'm going to have built a tentacle monster.
It's that fast.
Let me look up tentacle monster on Google and see what the fuck comes up. That'll be fun. That'll be a fun way to spend your afternoon.
We see this, big earthquake happen, and right before that scene, they cut to Buffy, who's being all badass in the graveyard and whatnot, and then they cut to Cordelia in a car going to the big leagues with some dude, her boyfriend.
Being all badass in her own respect.
Did you think that was weird? Instantly, they cut to Cordelia in this car with this guy.
I mean, yeah, I guess it was pretty weird. It kind of took you out of context. It felt like a transition there.
It was a weird perspective shift.
Yeah.
And when I see that, initially when I watched the episode, I didn't think anything of it. But I was like, okay, so we have a perspective of the camera where it's just Cordelia and her boyfriend. And the narrative is following Cordelia for this. She's going to play a bigger role in this episode. And I don't think I've ever seen that where, like, so fast they point the camera at Cordelia and it's not for like a quick joke or anything. So I was like, oh wow, Cordelia is going to have a lot to do in this episode.
Maybe they just found a lot of value in Cordelia in this episode and we're like, you know what? We're going to give her the reins. We're going to give her character a little bit more.
I guess that depends on... No, I guess it doesn't really depend on whether or not they're going to have a next season, but maybe they're like, okay, it's Cordelia, she hasn't been really the hero that much. We were going to make her into this heroic character, but if this is our only chance to do it, let's do it.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Redeem her at least a little bit after making her the villain. So Xander walks with Willow, and then eventually Buffy joins them. Xander asks Willow to skedaddle because he wants to ask Buffy something. Then he goes up to a picnic table where a guy's eating lunch, and it's like scram, and the dude takes off like Xander's like, I don't know.
Xander's a big dude, man.
I guess, man, but that's something reserved for like, I don't know, Aryan Brotherhood leaders in prison. Have you ever been sitting somewhere and somebody goes scram and you move?
No,
I would never do that. Even if I was little in middle school, I would be like kind of dumbfounded at that happening even.
Well, it's clearly for comedic value.
Yeah.
And I think it's trying to show, maybe failing in a way, but trying to show, oh, this means something to Xander. Xander means business. Even his walk over and the way he straddles the bench is kind of like, oh, okay, he means business. There's something sexual, about that,
yeah.
Which I thought was, I don't know, weird, but it made the scene kind of cool for me because he was like this and Buffy was still like kind of standoffish, like, what are you doing?
Well, the whole thing is that she considers him her friend, like her close friend. And for somebody to do that, I mean, he wasn't being all like, hey, what's up? You want to like have sex and have it mean nothing? He was like, I want to dance with you.
And I feel that's like a very like high school way of going about it. If this was later on in the series, like when she was in college, maybe they just could have gotten drunk and banged and then, oh, okay, that's a mistake or whatever. But like, this feels very high school to me.
Can you picture this series happening if Xander was the one to take Buffy's virginity? Buffy chooses Xander, and then what happens season 2?
Buffy crushes Xander, right?
Yes.
Like he's destroyed and
emotionally distraught.
And kind of destroyed and angry in the way that a 16-year-old boy would kind of be like, well, I'm mad because I can't deal with my emotions, so I'm horny and she turned me down and I feel rejected, so I'm going to throw this ball against a wall in an empty classroom because there's no teachers in Sunnydale because they've all died.
Yeah. Yeah. I would say that about sums it up, and I don't know, you were defending Xander. I'm going to go ahead and antagonize him a little bit and say he was an asshole. And his response to her being like, no, I don't really want to be with you, was on par with, well, what, are you a lesbian or something? I don't know. He just seemed very, very mean towards the fact that she was like, but we're friends. I've gotten that fucking speech before.
Yeah, and it was, you know, that scene made me really feel for Buffy, because it's like, fuck. Like, she wants to be friends, and all of a sudden this thing happens. It's the culmination of the season with him pining over Buffy, and we get this. There's another scene where you see Giles, and he's treating Buffy coldly because you know he's read something in a book. It's a prophecy.
He's trying to keep something from her and doesn't want it to slip out.
We find out later that she will die in this master battle.
Mm-hmm.
You know that, the audience knows that, but all you get to see is these people acting strangely with Buffy, and it's fucked up. You have that scene with Xander, you have that scene with Giles where he's standoffish and he's all, no, earthquake, I gotta put back books, and you know, I'm too busy and I'm not concerned about what you're doing or who you're killing or how many vampires you've killed.
Yeah, it's a little weird.
I felt really bad for her.
Yeah, she's pretty much all alone, and the crazy thing is that they're all reading this thing that applies to her, and she's the only one that doesn't know about it. And meanwhile, there's turmoil amongst her friends in the fact that she can't turn anywhere to anybody. She can't tell her mom that she's a vampire slayer. The people that do know that she's a vampire slayer, one's pining over her, the other one's pining over him, and Giles won't tell her the truth, and Angel won't tell her the truth. So it's the beginning of the outline for this entire series that turns her into the most powerful vampire slayer to ever live, is the sense that she really does feel alone. And she explains this many times throughout the series, but this is a really, really good encapsulation of that.
Yeah, it's the starting point of
that feeling, which is what turns this show into a beautiful show. And that's why this episode's great, even though it fucking sucked.
It's that emotional connection that the first time you feel it, like later on, we'll get into these episodes that really tugs at your heart. This, I think, was one of the first ones, and it kind of did it, but there's still too much camp to actually
and a little bit of like forced acting. It felt like the characters weren't fully created yet. 13 episodes in. It's like when you watch Supernatural and Dean's character doesn't have that badass accent yet, and he still has that shitty accent that he used in the first season. You know, like they kind of learn who their characters are and go with it and create a character. In this season, Buffy doesn't really know who she is, so upon finding out that she's gonna die, she does this weird laugh. Like this, like, ha 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 ha, that sounds super forced. And then gives us, like, a monologue speech that I was gonna do, but I forgot that I wanted to do that because we've been drinking.
Yeah, that is super weird. So, like, the setup for the scene is Angel is in the library with Giles, and they're discussing the prophecy in a book, which, what episode did that come about? Was that the computer episode?
I think so.
So Angel got Giles this book. They're discussing that and the fact that Buffy will die. Buffy overhears and does that super awkward fake laugh, and it doesn't work. It didn't work for me.
No, not at all. And I don't know, the acting was just not there yet. The characters weren't fleshed out enough. I don't think Sarah Michelle Gellar really had it nailed down yet, which she eventually does.
And that was really the first time, or really the only time in this season at least, where I felt that Sarah Michelle Gellar failed at portraying Buffy. Like, just that moment was very weird. The rest, it's like...
It's because it felt forced.
Yeah.
It felt really out of character. She was creating a character the whole first season, and then this happens, and you're like, oh, would that be the way that she responds? Like, if I were to rewrite that as a Buffy fan, it'd be like a cold silence, and she'd do that 1,000-yard stare while having, like, one tear in her eye. You get a feel of what she would do in a horrible situation when she gets horrible news. You see it happen for 7 seasons, and it's never been a cold laughter.
Yeah, very strange.
Yeah.
So in the library scene, Buffy is struggling with the fact that she will die. It's super awkward. Pretty soon after that in the episode, she just comes to terms with the fact that I am the Slayer, I will do it. And I don't think that was done very well.
I think she came to terms with the fact that the episode was 40 minutes long.
Yeah.
That's the thing that I think that this first season, because it was only 13 episodes, maybe if it was a full 24, 23, or 22, we would have gotten a more fleshed out master character and master arc. But because they did it so quickly, it seems like they had, like I said, the 3 main ones and then 2 in between, like 5 total episodes of the 13 that were really master related. And because of that, it felt like a really rushed episode. They told all of it kind of like Star Wars, like the first 3, where you're like, Phantom Menace sucked, Attack of the Clones sucked. I could have just watched Revenge of the Sith and been okay with just that one.
Yeah, like most people.
Yeah, so I think if you're going to watch the first season to kind of catch you up to the rest of them, you only really have to watch this episode.
I don't know, man. There's definitely some gems in the other one.
The Angel episode, I would...
And
yeah.
You don't even really need to watch this episode. I think we've talked about this before. I really started to get into Buffy midway through the 2nd season.
Yeah.
And I didn't know any of this. I had to go back and watch
When the sex came into play.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. That was steamy, man.
What was it? Steamy?
I was like, damn.
Yeah, but so, like, the change that Buffy goes through is super short. It's not even like, you know, if we're talking movies, not even like a full act or anything. She basically, after the library, goes home, talks to her mom, and has this brief conversation about having her whole life in front of her and this and that. And there's this dress that her mom bought her, which they apparently can't afford, which I do want to get into, but maybe a little bit later.
Yeah.
Or should we talk about it now?
Let's talk about it now.
So why... They can't afford this dress. Did it look like a particularly expensive dress?
It didn't.
Then how can they afford a house in Sunnydale and not afford this dress? They look like they have nice stuff.
Yeah, they have really, really nice stuff.
I don't understand.
Not to mention Cordelia, like, even complimented her on her authentic purse in the first episode, right? Or shoes or something.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so, like, that's crazy. Maybe it's just one of those things where, like, upper middle class people go like, we gotta tighten our belts.
Or it could be like, real estate is so fucking cheap in Sunnydale because everybody dies and they know it.
This would make a lot more sense during the mortgage crisis that happened in the like late 90s.
What if the mortgage crisis was just because of vampires?
Mind blown.
Yeah.
Mic dropped.
I was like, they don't tell you that in The Big Short. They skipped over that history.
Nah, man, that movie's just like a bunch of dudes with abs pretending they don't have abs.
Oh, it's best review for that movie fucking ever. So Buffy accepts her fate, goes back to the library, and then sees Giles, and Giles is like, no, I'm sorry. He's trying to make up for the fact that he was ignoring her, which I really feel he was not ignoring her, but it's because he cared about her and didn't want to see her die, right?
Yeah,
that's why
he was trying to make sure. At first, I think it was like in denial and trying to make sure that he was trying to figure out a different way of viewing it, or trying to like find something that would reassure her that she didn't have to die before he told her. He wanted to figure out a way to not have to tell her,
or figure out the solution, which he couldn't.
By finding out the solution, he wouldn't have to tell her.
Yeah. So, complete character turn again, which I thought was weird, comes in and all of a sudden she's like, "No, I am the Slayer, this and that." And Giles is like, "No, I'm gonna confront the Master. This is how I'm going to fix the problem." And then, which this part we really liked. I think we really liked it. She knocks him out.
Oh, yeah, that was good, man. That was the worst impression of a knockout I've ever seen.
Because you can't do a real one.
No, of course they can't do a real one, but they can do better than that, maybe. I mean, maybe they can.
It's comical. It's one of those, like, like slapstick. But we watch a lot of MMA, and when you see horrible knockouts, they don't look like that.
But also, like, even in the worst knockout, like the worst knockout ever that you've ever seen in your life, people don't stay asleep for very long. I mean, like, let's say 2 minutes is you're going into coma territory.
Yeah, that's a scary knockout.
That's a scary knockout. That's like, oh my God, he's been on the ground for 5 minutes. Oh my God, that's horrible. So this whole idea of like, I knocked him out, he's in the library for the night. You know, like, that's the dumbest thing in the world. That's always bothered me.
But what a cool thing as a writer to always rely on, because they're like, okay, I can just knock somebody out and I don't have to explain the fact that they've been knocked out for a certain amount of time and not gone into a coma or died or this. It's an easy out, and it's cheap, but the audience will accept it. It's like, oh, okay. Even I accept it.
We accept a lot of things. We accept a lot of things as people.
Like, I saw that, and even I was like, oh, well, that's kind of bullshit. But I was like, okay, got knocked out, whatever. Fucking came to
Wouldn't
eventually.
there be a great, like, asterisk behind every knockout in every movie or TV show I've ever seen that says, like, immediately after knocking them out, we poured a fifth of vodka into their mouth and made them drink that till they passed out?
Would that be cool? Is that the question?
No, it would be more realistic, though, wouldn't it?
Fuck, that sounds like fucking abusive. Like,
yeah.
I mean, I get your point that it would explain why somebody passed out.
For at least half a day.
Yeah,
it's really, really just ridiculous when it's like, all right, now that everything's over, and they'll be like, they'll come to, and that's ridiculous.
Okay, so Buffy leaves the library, and the little anointed piece of shit is outside, and he basically leads her to the Master's lair.
Looking all old.
He
looks old for a kid. He looks like just like Haley Joel Osment did. And he's like 50-year-old dude had little kid's body.
I think they both look like kids. I think Haley Joel Osment still looks like a kid.
Oh, that's weird. No, I think he's always looked like an adult.
Oh, that's weird.
Yeah, chicken or the egg right here.
I don't know if like you can, I don't know if that's right, dude, but that's
it didn't feel right coming out of my mouth.
It's like this is like a very reference heavy episode. I feel like it's Anchorman when he's like, "Win in Rome." No, that doesn't really apply here. He's like, "Win in Rome."
Oh man! All right.
This is either going to be the worst or the best episode. Honestly, it'll probably just be somewhere in between.
I think we're going to have to do another one where we're coherent and just edit this stuff in.
Nah, fuck that, dude. We've done a lot of like coherent episodes, and I say that now because I've had a lot to drink.
Why don't we end with a flutter?
All right, where were we? The Anointed, right?
The Anointed. He takes her to the Master. She walks into the Master's lair all badass with a bow and arrow. Crossbow. He comes out and is like, oh, ho, ho, ho. Are we to the banter portion? Because he says something really witty.
I liked that.
That was all right. That was cute. Yeah, that was good. Actually, that was good. She shoots him and catches the arrow. She tries to reload for some reason. He has the ability to, I guess, hypnotize people.
I said it when we were watching the episode. If you're True Blood fans or ever seen it, he's glamoring her.
He glammed the shit out of her.
Like he did something and she was hypnotized.
Can I stop and say that True Blood had the worst last season in any TV show I've ever seen in my life? Like, it went from being like, oh, this is interesting, and I like the sex and boobs.
Worse than Dexter?
No, Dexter is worse.
Okay. I still have never seen the last season of True Blood because, we're vampire fans, right? I would say that. I watched it. I liked it to an extent, and then I was like, I'm off.
As soon as he got into fairies and all that bullshit, I was just like, really? They went too far in the wrong direction, in my opinion. They tried to keep it really, really dark and try to make it light at the same time.
It was... I think that's when I kind of fucking jumped off of that show.
Yeah. Not good. Not a good show.
No, I think it's worth watching. I'll disagree with you on that.
The first couple seasons are really worth watching.
Like if
the last few, not so
if you
good.
like vampires and you never watch True Blood, I would say you're kind of missing out. Because the time it came out, we had Buffy and we had other stuff, and this was like a fucking gritty, sex-heavy vampire show.
Remember that
was
book,
missing.
Vamped?
Yeah.
That you read, and then you told me to read, and I read, and I was like, this is a weird fucking book.
I liked it. It was all about fatherhood.
I think I liked that one more than I liked True Blood.
It had...
True Blood element to it.
It was before True Blood came out, and it was done better.
Yeah, in my opinion. But he didn't make any money and never released anything again, I don't think.
I think he did another book that was like about angels and the apocalypse that I never read because Barnes & Noble couldn't, at the time, get it distributed, or he couldn't get it distributed through them, which is sad. And this was like...
That just means that, like... That never came out. Or he self-distributed, which means there's like 14 in a Barnes & Noble around where he lives, and he goes there every day to make sure that any of them sold.
Who knows?
Super sad.
And this wasn't like pre-Amazon. Amazon was around, but it wasn't like what it is now.
It wasn't 50 Shades of Grey yet.
No.
When it's all just like, the best-selling book of all time.
No.
It's about bondage vampire hunters. It's not even about vampires. Do you know that started as Twilight fan fiction?
What did?
50 Shades of Grey?
No, I didn't.
It's ridiculous. Isn't it? I don't know. Anyway, where were we?
We're with the Master and Buffy, but at the same time, we're seeing Xander and Angel together. Xander goes to Angel's house, which is, I swear, that's like an apartment somewhere inside of the Bronze or underneath, or I don't know. Somebody needs to correct me.
I don't know, man. It probably is the Bronze repurposed as an apartment.
So he goes in and he's like, hey, Buffy needs help. And then it's like this whole thing where it's like, I hate you, you're a vampire, blah, blah, blah. Like, we're going to go save Buffy because she's confronting the Master. And then Angel does like a half smirk. Half smirk?
Yeah, half smirk, or at least a more tolerable smirk. It wasn't as bad as all the other smirks. So it was okay.
Yeah. While that's happening, we cut back to the Master and Buffy, and the Master kills Buffy, which is weird.
Really easily, too.
Yeah, I don't understand that.
So, I mean, he glamored her. She comes over to him, and then he just kind of takes off her jacket really easily, and then bites her. And
momentarily, he bites her, but he doesn't like
maybe he has super
suck her blood, or like that's okay. I could get behind that because maybe we've already established the Master is like this super vampire that has almost no powers that the other vampire, or has extra powers that they don't. But again, that's a little bit too much.
There's also a supernatural element going on there. All right, so she's bitten by the Master. He only bites her for a second. He's like, oh, the power, and this allows him to get out of the force field. Buffy falls into a pool and is drowning. Xander comes and gives her CPR, and she comes out of it. So obviously she didn't die of blood loss. She was drowning. So maybe there's that. And on top of that, when she comes back, she goes, oh no, I feel stronger than I ever have. Okay. So something happened when he sucked her blood and she came back to life.
Let me get to the first part of that you mentioned before the second part, because all this is like so much that I'm like, what the fuck? Did they plan this? Or
I don't know if they planned it, but they planted a lot of seeds here.
So, yeah, again, he sucks her blood. She falls into the little puddle pool and drowns. Mm-hmm. So, like, I'm still like trying to follow like with the whole super suction thing, right?
Maybe.
Okay.
She falls, she drowns. Kendra is born?
Well, not yet.
I mean, at that instant.
Yeah, I guess so, just off screen.
Yeah, somewhere in Africa.
You brought up the fact that she comes back and she's like, I feel great, I feel even better. What does that mean?
Yeah, I don't know.
Does somehow the mixing of blood make her stronger, or what are they implying with the show?
Was it maybe a supernatural force that brought her back that wasn't actually Xander giving her CPR? It was like something outside of that, because she also kind of wakes up in an odd place as far as CPR goes. Usually it's like, I blow into your mouth, you start coughing up water. So she wakes up, and then 5 seconds later, she coughs up water. I think that was really, really just bad editing.
Yeah, it was bad editing. Yeah. But, it's in the show, so we'll just assume they did it on purpose. What do you think happened there with her coming back all of a sudden and being like, I feel even better, I'm fucking awesome, and she's energized?
Well, there has to be a line in the sand where you say, this is all Slayer's powers, and this is Buffy, right above that. Like, she keeps on getting stronger and stronger past her potential. Every single season, she gets stronger and stronger and stronger, unlike any Slayer before her. So there's obviously something that's unique about her.
Well, it could just be because she's lived the longest, right?
Yeah.
Isn't she one of the longest
surviving ones? Yeah.
They don't really explain why it is. The only thing I could surmise or even assume, really, is that it's that connection between vampire and Slayer, and because the Master is one of the strongest vampires ever, something happened there. But it's so weird. It's just not. It's not something that they really flesh out.
No,
and it's kind of sad
not.
that they don't.
I'd agree that there was some potential there. Potential. However, it seems like maybe they got onto a better path and had ideas as far as doing that. But they do come back to the fact that Buffy's unique. Maybe just coming back from the dead, like a Super Saiyan, for example, from Dragon Ball Z, makes you stronger. And then the same thing happened in season 5, which explains.
She came back wrong.
No, she didn't. Then Angel came back. Maybe every time they come back from the dead, they're a little bit stronger.
Just like Jesus. That guy went to the fire. Did you hear about Mel Gibson? He's doing Passion of the Christ Part 2. I'm not even joking. It's called, I think it's just, he's just going to call it The Resurrection. The first thing that popped in my head was just Jesus with a machine gun. Passion of the Christ 2, The Passion's Revenge. Just him shooting
What's
a bunch of
Is that from Family Guy?
It must be from something.
I think yeah. I saw that somewhere.
It's fucking
oh my
ridiculous.
God, dude. This apocalypto with Jesus. So yeah, Mel Gibson sucks.
So Buffy comes back.
She comes back to life.
She comes back. She's stronger than ever.
She's a Christ-like figure.
We get like a new. I don't even know. It again. The tone of the show changes for the last. What is that? Like 10, 15 minutes. We start to hear the theme song, and it's very like superhero-y.
I will say that absolutely none of the music in this entire episode fits the scenes that the music is in at all. When they play the intro music while they're walking, it just does not fit. I mean, it's like a very high-strung moment.
What can I say? It does, and it doesn't. So you're right in the way it does not fit. Mm-hmm. But if you think about this episode in the way that Joss Whedon, the writers, everybody involved thought maybe we won't get another chance to finish this series, they wanted to close a lot of shit up.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, let's have this moment where it's that theme song. It's like the heroes walk out. And I understand that. I think just the song is... It's not even that the song is shitty. The production level of the song is crappy. And that makes it worse.
Didn't they fix that in the second season?
Yeah.
So that didn't fit when it came out. But then they do another song, too. It was like the super sad version of the song.
Oh, yeah, that's at the end.
And that one didn't fit either.
Well, there's only so much you can do with those chords.
No way, dude. You're doing a lot more. Anyway. So she kills the Master. Did we get to that? She comes back to life, rejuvenated.
We can. Yeah. Comes back rejuvenated.
And then goes back to the Master, and he tries to glamour her again.
Yeah.
He fails. She comes up to him and is super strong. He grabs her by the throat. She grabs him by the throat and then choke slams him through a window. And he falls.
One-handed.
One-handed choke slam. She fucking choke slams him through the window. He falls on a shard of, I guess, wood.
Tacks. Oh no, that's Hell in a Cell. Sorry, I'm getting my choke slams confused.
He falls off the cage and slams into the announcer's table, and and gets a spike through his heart. And
Mexican announcer's table.
There it is. It's always Mexican announcer's table. There's like a YouTube thing about that. And he disintegrates in the most awful CGI that the 90s has ever produced. It was pretty cool, I guess, at the time.
Even then, I don't think so.
No,
I don't think so. So one part that was Buffy's thing. We get to see Cordelia kind of save the day between everybody else. Most of the rest of the Scoobies who aren't Xander, picks them up in the graveyard and drives through the school, just fucking up
literally
the school completely.
I mean, the school's already structured. They're already going to have to tear down the school and start over, but they don't really get to that.
So she becomes like, just like Xander was the savior for, I guess you could say, reviving Buffy, maybe?
Yeah, he kind
in
of
a way.
He redeems himself from
because
being
Angel couldn't do it.
Yeah, because he has no breath. I have no breath. How are you talking then, stupid? Sorry.
Well, vampires don't have breath.
Well,
but
yeah, but
I don't know how they.
How do you
talk.
think we control our fucking our language?
I don't know.
It's like we're playing the bagpipes, but they're inside of us.
Fuck. I have nothing to say to that.
Anyway,
so Cordelia saves the day in a way. So it feels like a very final episode. They go through to the library. They find out that essentially the Hellmouth is open, right? They talk about that later.
There's a tentacle monster.
Tentacle monster, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Buffy kills the master. There's the sad music that goes on. It ends on the scene where you see the master has a skeleton.
Yeah.
Which again, weird. What is it about the master? Is he so old that he is a vampire?
You
with
think
a
that
skeleton,
he might be the first
or
something?
I don't know. Maybe it's
he's not an uber vamp.
I like the master in several ways, and I don't know if it's because he's so mysterious because they didn't flesh him out enough.
Because Dracula also has the glamoring. Remember?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Later in the season, we have Dracula, and he also has the ability to glamour people. And Spike calls it cheap gypsy tricks. So that ability exists in the world.
I forgot about that one.
However, there's also like a little bit of an uber vamp to him.
Yeah.
There's an uber vamp look and uber vamp qualities. So is he maybe something down the line that we haven't even heard of? You know, maybe the first vampire, or like amongst a different generation of vampires that have lived so long that they're like uber. Because I assume all uber vamps are old, right?
So yeah, he's like an uber vamp, which definitely we're going to tell you guys right now. That's
consciousness.
A 7th season thing we're talking about.
So we're talking about the end of the series.
But I don't know. That would be a good way to describe the master as a link between regular vampires and the uber vampires. But he still has these powers, and it's definitely appealing to me the fact that they have a character like the master in this season. And there's such a mythology behind Buffy, but there's so little with the master.
Yeah, Peter.
It makes you want to fill in everything else.
Yeah, fan fiction. So speaking of filling in, I don't think that you have to fill in many ideas of where things are going to pop up. Like, let's say locations, right? We've already talked about this on the show. There's the library, there's the cemetery, and there's the bronze.
And Buffy's house. That's about
Buffy's house. There we go. And then the bronze can make shift into Angel's apartment.
Yeah, I don't get it. Yeah. Can somebody help me with
I think
that?
It's just, they were like, all right, well, we have a couch in the bronze and we have a table in the bronze. Let's move all that into a corner of the bronze and that'll be Angel's apartment.
Do you think it's just that I feel that Angel is the type of dude, even as like a vampire with a soul, that would live in a bar and think that's cool? It's like, well, I don't live in a crypt. I live like
he lives in a really shitty little apartment. You know, and maybe it is a part of the bar, but my question to you is, where the fuck does he get the money to do the Angel investigation shit later? Like, do you think he pawned a bunch of shit he had, like, in that apartment in a closet somewhere? Because there's nothing in that. All he has in that apartment is wife beaters and velvet coats and leather coats.
Do you want a real answer or a bullshit answer?
Bullshit answer.
I think he pawned his velvet coat, which was worth a lot of fucking money. No, but like I'll give you like a real / bullshit answer. It's almost like the Highlander thing, right? It's
Right.
like if you're around long enough, you collect things, and you're a collector, and you can sell stuff, and you do antiques. But that's, whatever. That works for me.
Justifies hoarding.
Yeah, that works for me.
So yeah, when they go, where's the Hellmouth going to open up? Of course, it has to be in one of 4 places. And when they say, where's the Master? Of course, it's got to be one of 4 places.
Well, I was going to think
you can mark out Angel's apartment almost immediately.
I was going to say like the Bronze is the most likely. You know why?
Why?
No bouncer.
Absolutely no bouncer.
Demons respect bouncers.
And they serve underagers, so it's easier to get bait in there.
Hellmouth.
There you go. Hellmouth.
Yeah.
Hellmouth rules.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's kind of ridiculous, but it's one of those things where when they point out like, where's this going to happen? Where's that going to happen? You can pretty much get it down to a 50% chance that you can guess where something's going to arise.
Yeah, like when the characters are trying to figure out where something is going to take place.
It's like go to one place. If it's shaking, you're in the right place.
Well, yeah. Well, no, like it's kind of taking me out of the show when I know the set is so limited.
Yeah.
It's like, where is this going to happen? It's like, there are 3 motherfucking places you show in the show. So one of those 3 places, that's where it's going to be. But when I first started watching this, like, I wasn't like, yeah.
You weren't thinking that way. You were also 16 or 17 or whatever.
I was 38.
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't.
You didn't start watching till 4 years in the future.
Yeah.
That's crazy. That's fucking, you're blowing my mind. So Geoff, what do you think about this overall episode to end or cap off the season?
One, I liked this episode maybe a little bit less than I initially did, but the great thing about it, I have a whole bunch of questions leading into the next episode. So yeah. I like that. I'm kind of fine with the cheesy choices they made in this episode, like the Nerf Herder song as Buffy's walking, just to encapsulate the end of the season. I feel like it was necessary.
I agree. It was pretty good. I feel like it definitely answered any questions that I had about the show going into this episode. Like anything that I was wondering about was answered, but I don't think there was much opened up by this season. Like there wasn't much talked about in this season to close off. Well, it was just the Master.
Yeah, I would say the biggest thing for both of us was just like the Master and his powers. You're absolutely right. They didn't open a whole lot of shit up.
Not really. They weren't looking past the first season, like you said. They were just, all right, this is it. So season 2 starts, and you get this. Oh, we're up and running. Oh, we have a budget. Oh, we have 24 episodes, and you get this kind of like, all right, let's actually create a mythology, a world around this.
But you still have stuff to work with.
Oh yeah, because you planted a bunch of seeds.
Yeah.
So without this season, there's no way that Buffy would have been able to come off. And all the tropes and major things from this season continue on in all the rest of the season. Like I said, this is a mini kind of scale of what the overall idea is of this whole series, right?
Yeah, we talk a lot of shit about this first season, but just like you said right now, it wouldn't.
I can talk
this
shit
series
about
needs
anything.
This. Well, yeah, you can.
You can too.
But I'm just saying that this series needs this first season.
I agree.
Most first seasons are kind of garbage. And
except
even
for
the
Firefly.
Yeah, but who knows where it would have gone if given the chance.
Yeah, it could have just really shitted out a second season.
Well, no, I mean, like, I think it would have been even better, but who knows? It's fucking... Who knows?
I like that. Who knows where it would have gone?
Yeah, I mean...
What if Kurt Cobain had lived? Nirvana would become maybe the best band in the world, or maybe it would have become, Korn.
I was going to say, like, Depeche Mode, where, like, people are like, yeah, Nirvana! And you're like, yeah, you still want to go see them?
Still like Nirvana? No, I still like Nirvana a lot.
Maybe you would have seen them at like with fucking Indian reservation playing. Like who knows for free? I don't know.
Remember when we went to go? You remember Barry's? You remember when we went to go see STP?
Yeah.
Stayed for the first 2 songs.
We were into those first like 2 or 3
yeah,
songs.
Dude, it was like Cracker Man, Lady Picture Girl.
And then it was cold and we were like, fuck this.
Yeah. It was stuff off Purple, man. That was good shit. Purple was a good album.
It was.
It was like a really a tight 120-minute horror movie when you're just like, man, that was the perfect length, perfect amount of scares.
Do I like Purple? I like what was the first one? Core.
Was
that Core?
Core was okay. I think mine are Purple. I like the most. Songs from the Tiny Music or whatever, Tiny Music from the Store or whatever.
That is honestly the one that holds up the best.
I like that one. So that's my second favorite, and then Core is my third favorite, and the other ones don't matter to me at all. I guess number 4 is okay.
I'd say the Tiny Music is my favorite because it's the one that's so different.
Yeah.
It holds up the best, really, to this day.
Yeah, I agree.
But Purple is that 90s grunge sound.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Besides Silverchair, nobody did it better.
Hey, so Scott Weiland is dead. Do you want to hear about the deaths in this episode?
Yeah. Oh, wow. Good transition.
It was pretty bad.
That was pretty dark, man.
Was it a rough one?
I know.
Was it too much?
So Tom Petty died this year.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Really?
No.
Oh. I was like, I didn't hear about that.
That'd be the last one where I'd actually cry. David Bowie, Prince, take away my Tom Petty.
Oh, damn. Well, I thought the Scott Weiland was funny. Now I'm just kind of sad.
No, that didn't happen. Let's just move on. All right, death count. We did that, right?
No.
So, Jeffrey, death count this episode.
Yeah, so Buffy kills 2 vampires on screen. Mm-hmm. One at the beginning, one is the master. She claims to kill 2 others to Giles. Mm-hmm. But who knows? It's not on screen, so fuck it.
Not on screen. She might have just been trying to avoid him catching her making out with Angel or something.
I don't know. It's a weird thing that they mention several times. Like, I killed 3 vampires. It almost seems like she wanted credit from Giles. Like, she wanted Giles to be all like, good job, Buffy. So,
she does have
who knows?
Other issues.
2 deaths. Vampire deaths from Buffy. Also, 5 human deaths. I have a question for you about that. Mm-hmm. Who killed all those people?
I would assume the Anointed.
During the day?
Well, he is anointed.
What does that mean?
That means doesn't mean anything because he's
a daywalker.
Sunlight. No, I have no idea. But it was, remember the 5 would create the Anointed? Maybe another 5 would create this whatever.
True, I can get behind that, but I just don't know who
I feel like the writers were like, look over here. Look over here. Okay. Now the master's right.
It was just super weird. I don't know. I would like to know who killed
Who's
these
on
5
first?
people. Yeah. No.
Who's on first? No?
I like how Cordelia was like, my
second.
boyfriend died. I don't like him anyway. Fuck it.
Well, no, she liked him a lot. Because he, like, walked out on her or didn't show up to something. And then she was, like, super enamored by him because he, like, didn't give her attention. As soon as somebody doesn't like her, that explains why she ends up with Mr. Xander Harris.
Or Mr.
Xander Harris. I mean, he's like 50 now.
But yeah, it's weird. I don't know.
Right on. Hello and welcome to another edition of the Prose Bros podcast. I am Eddie Cruz.
I'm Jeff.
And today we are talking about Prophecy Girl. I'm done. Prophecy Girl. We watched Prophecy Girl today.
Yeah, we did.
And it was super spooky.
Well, Eddie, technically, I know it's the same podcast, but isn't this a Prose Bros Visit Sunnydale?
Oh, yeah. This is a Prose Bros Visit Sunnydale. Sorry, I was so wrapped up in that voice.
Yeah, see, you knew that, but the Russian character you're portraying didn't.
Oh, no, it's Count Dracula.
Is he?
Or what? Count Chocula.
Okay.
Isn't it?
I don't fucking know, man.
I don't know either, man. All right, disclaimer. I'm fucking really tired, and we're a couple beers in this one. Yeah, we decided that today's our day off, and we're going to enjoy our day off.
So we're drinking even more than usual? Is that what's going on?
Yeah. We're a little bit more wet than we usually are.
What are we drinking today?
Pine Drops IPA. I just had a Pine Drops followed by a 90-minute, which came out super sweet compared to the Pine Drops. A lot more malty. I wasn't a fan. I'd prefer the Pine Drops right now.
Yeah, kind of
floral, beautiful piney hops going on in my nose.
You were talking about this earlier. I'm kind of done with Dogfish.
I'm kind of done with Dogfish and Imperial IPAs. It's hard to be drunk off of 2 beers. I think I'm not an all-day IPA kind of guy, but Pine Drops, fresh squeezed, I'm down. Deschutes always makes a good IPA.
They do.
Yeah, Stone's makes a good IPA if you want to get kicked in the nuts. Really kicks you in the mouth.
Dude, I've been liking a lot of Firestone. Firestone's
Firestone's really good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Their Double Jack is actually really, really good. Speaking of... never mind. I kind of want to start this over.
Do you?
Yeah.
All right.
A little bit.
It's fine.
We can edit some of that in.
All right.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
This was a pretty drunk episode, Jeff.
Was it?
I feel pretty drunk.
I was, I was trying to give you the last little bit, but you wouldn't take it.
Oh, I knew you'd come back and throw that in my face.